Alright, welcome. Hopefully in class you got all of this stuff about the real number system. I hope you had all of these notes filled in. But in case you didn't, they're here for you now. Remember the idea of splitting into rationals and irrationals, and then taking the rational numbers and splitting them even smaller into the ones we use the most often, integers, and also whole numbers and natural numbers. Again, this is a class discussion, so I'm not going to leave it here in notes, but I did want to make sure that I put this whole screen up so that if you missed class, you at least got to fill in all the information. Please plan to come see me if you didn't get all of that, because we did do that traditionally, as in I gave notes in class over this topic. Now, the part that you needed to focus on tonight starts right here, ordering rational numbers and using a number line. When given a list of numbers, your first job is to put them in order. Once you've put them in order, usually you're going to have to put them on a number line, or maybe you'll just have to put them in order. Maybe that'll be all you have to do. But I have a couple of tricks to give you. The first is actually a pet peeve. Let's go ahead and sketch in right here a number line. And just for the sake of time, I'm going to put it at -2 to +2 because I have control over it. My first pet peeve about number lines is students will often use this number line and they'll put their points way up here. That's the point at 2 and this is a point at 0. When we use a number line, those points do not go up above. They actually go right on the line. So make sure that your points end up right on the line. If we're asked to label them, then our labels would go up above. Let's say we had to call this point the point X and this point the point R. Labels would go up above. If my point does not land right on an integer value, look at us using those fancy words. If my point does not end up right on an integer value, then I need to, unless they give me a letter, then I need to make sure that I put a letter in. For example, the point 1.5. I would put my point here, and I would graph it as 1.5, so that I knew which point I was putting that at. The second piece that I want you to watch out for is that we're in the habit of always centering our number lines at 0, but sometimes our number lines aren't going to need to be at 0. Sometimes we're just going to need it to be somewhere else. So I want you to remember that just because you draw a number line doesn't mean that 0 needs to be in the middle. Maybe you need to put 12 in the middle because we want to look at 15, right? Or maybe 12 does need to go in the middle because we want to look at how it compares to 9 or 10, whatever the case may be. I just want you to remember that your number line does not have to start at 0, and 0 does not have to be in the middle. So be cautious of that. Now sometimes in your homework you're going to find that your number lines and your list of numbers that you need to order or to put into order are going to be fractions with decimals or all that kind of stuff. So just simplify them first and put them into the form that makes the most sense to you. And I think in terms of a number line, that's probably going to be a decimal value for you. So that if they were asking me to put into order, let's just go with 1/2, -0.3, 1, and -2. If those are the numbers they've asked me to put into order, then when I'm doing these, I need to just be cautious about putting them in appropriately. Oops, let's draw this in here. Number line. My smallest number is -2, and it looks like my largest number is +1. I got some fractional values. So I'm going to give myself a little bit of space. -3, -2, -1. Notice how I'm labeling everything, right? 0, 1, and 2 should give me enough space. And when I go to put these in, +1/2 goes here. Notice where my point is, and then I'm going to label it. They didn't give me letters, so I'm actually going to put the number above it. -3/10. So if this would be -5/10 or 0.5, so I need to go inside that so that this one is -3/10, like this. A +1. I'm not going to need to label because it's right on 1. And the same thing is true with -2. I'm not going to need to label it. So that once I've got my number line, now I can put my numbers in order. So that my answer would need to say from least to greatest, -2, -3/10, 1/2, and 1. So be cautious with using those pieces. Sometimes you may need to find that this fraction isn't something as obvious as a half, so you'll need to put it to a decimal. Or maybe you'll get a mixed number, and that'll make more sense as a decimal. Just do what you need to do to make sure you finish it. Good luck.